வணக்கம். தமிழர்கள் கணிசமாக வாழும் மலேசிய வரலாற்றில் முதன்முறையாக ஆட்சி மாற்றம் ஏற்பட்டிருக்கிறது. டாக்டர் மகாதிர் முகமது மலேசியாவின் பிரதமராக பொறுப்பேற்றுக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார். எனக்கு 93 வயசாகுது. நான் ரொம்ப காலம் மலேசியாவுடைய பிரதமரா நீடிக்க போறதில்ல. எனக்கு அப்புறம் ஆளும் கூட்டணியுடைய தலைவர் அன்வார் இப்ராஹிம் அடுத்த பிரதமராக பொறுப்பேற்பார் அப்படின்னு அவர் அறிவிச்சிருக்கிறார். திரு அன்வார் இப்ராஹிம் ஏற்கனவே மலேசியாவுடைய துணை பிரதமராக இருந்தவர். சமீபத்தில் சிறை மீண்டவர். டாக்டர் மகாதிர் ஏற்கனவே பிரதமராக இருந்தபோது அவராலேயே சிறை வைக்கப்பட்டவர். இன்று இருவரும் சேர்ந்து மலேசியாவின் முதல் ஆட்சி மாற்றத்தை ஏற்படுத்தி இருக்கிறார்கள். தென்கிழக்கு ஆசியாவின் மிக முக்கிய தலைவர்களுள் ஒருவர், இந்தியா மீதும் இந்தியத்தின் மீதும் நன்மதிப்பு கொண்ட திரு அன்வார் இப்ராஹிம், மலேசிய ஆளும் கூட்டணி தலைவர், இந்த சிறப்பு நேர்காணலில் நம்மிடையே இணைகிறார். நேர்களே வணக்கம் Dato-Sri. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Dato-Sri, today you have received the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, as your government's one of the first few guests. How productive was your meeting with the Indian Prime Minister?
No, after I expressed my view that his visit is quite significant in the sense that, because normally the new PM will call, but I thought it was a very kind and nice gesture on his part. I accompanied the Deputy Prime Minister Aziza in the meeting, and we went through a few issues together. But of course, when I participated, I was, broadening the issue to historical, Mahatma Gandhi, and cultural and educational, and the fact that this needs to be developed other than trade, IT, and other related issues.
I suppose this is your first ever meeting with Mr. Narendra Modi.
Yes. Of course, I know him, and I was very pleased that he also followed me quite well, and to say that Indian media rejoiced also with the news, but we went along quite well.
Our two countries share a lot of values in common: civilization, culture, and most importantly, a sizable Indian Tamil population. How does your government propose to take forward, strengthen the profound relationship that our two countries enjoy?
Firstly, there is a shift in the policy between the past regime and the present government. Insofar as our treatment of the minorities, including Tamil minority here, the recognition of their education, language, and economic plight is one of the pillars in our economic policy. So we remain consistent that ignoring the plight of minorities or discriminatory policies against minority religious denominations or race is not acceptable, and certainly this is discarded by the present government, and therefore we are venturing to a new phase. Now, relating to our relation with India, of course, Tamil Nadu of course has a special place, because most of the cultural links, political, economic links have been with Tamil Nadu. I of course, one of the few fortunate Malaysians that covered almost all states, from Andhra Pradesh to Tamil Nadu to Karnataka to Kerala.
I've heard you invoking a lot of Indian values, the Mahabharata, the Karma, citing a number of Indian icons from Jawaharlal Nehru to Mahatma Gandhi, for that matter even Rajinikanth and MGR.
MGR, I remember I sang his song.
I was about to ask that. My audience will be very surprised to know that you sing songs of MGR and even dance to the tunes of MGR songs. Can you sing a few lines? Our audience will be super excited.
No, where he was talking about championing the poor,
egalitarian
policies, and I had to mimic his style, his way of dancing, and so.
Can you do a few lines? My audience will be super excited.
No, I think with practice first, because I do it.
And I've also seen you citing a very famous line, a punch dialogue from Mr. Rajinikanth's movie.
Yes.
The Shivaji, I guess.
Yes. Especially the boss.
Yeah.
I do the economy with all the style and I mean that appeal. Because that time I was asking Mr. Gachi or Anne, how many times you see? Most of them say more than twice. I say, "Unna random, no, sometimes nala." I say, "Well, there's too much. Who cook in the house?" So I will then mimic with the style.
Can you do that? Because that's very popular.
Yeah, I know.
Shivaji.
The boss. It is a good movie. It's a strong moral and political message too. And I had to watch the movie and I had to focus on some of these actions so that I can also when during the rallies.
Today he's a politician like you. As a seasoned politician who has seen a tumultuous political career, ups and downs, what is your message to Rajinikanth, the politician?
Well, I followed, of course, because he's a great star and the moves we've made here also. But I believe reading from his initial statements, policy statements, I empathize with them because what we lack in politics is integrity. The commitment to champion the cause of the poor. Political leaders become super rich and the masses ignored and given some bits before the elections. And I think this is a crime for people to trust you, kiss you, and show so much affection, and you betray their trust. I think politics, this is where I think some message from Mahatma Gandhi or even the sages like Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo, would help because it gives us that additional input. However, Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel laureate, the Nobel laureate, because then they give that sort of a strong, compelling case to protect the interests of the poor and humanitarian concerns, transcending even race and religion.
Do you watch a lot of Indian movies too?
Oh, in the past probably, but not much now.
Which is your most favorite one, and who's your most favorite actor?
Well, I am represent the earlier generation. So there's the Adithanar and Raj Kapoor, Saira Banu and Asha Parekh, that generation. Some of this.
Talking about the Tamil movies.
Tamil movies, of course, the recent one, of course, the one which appealed to me was Shivaji the Boss. I popularized it a bit because it has a strong Kabali, of course, because it is here and it's popular. And I watched it only after it was released, bits of pieces, because that was released when I was in prison.
Okay.
So Kabali, followed by many of the prison staff, virtually every one of them, Malays and Indians, ethnic Malays from India, watched that movie. See, I didn't watch that because I was in prison, there was no television, no radio, nothing.
I know it would have been a very difficult time. Talking about Mr. Narendra Modi, your Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, in an interview to me had expressed concerns about Mr. Narendra Modi's Hindutva background, about the safety and security of the Indian Muslims. Do you share your Prime Minister's concerns on Mr. Narendra Modi?
No, I think what Dr. Mahathir expressed is that from the various reports, there were concerns by not only Muslims but also Christians and Dalits. In fact, I travel quite a bit to India. I remember when I was in Bangalore, there was this representation. But I think to the credit of Prime Minister Modi, he's also responding to it in some terms. Because they always associate him with the extreme Hindutva demands. But he's responding and I wish him well. But I think Prime Minister Mahathir's concern is also timely not to be overtly too critical, but to remind, because here we have a problem with minorities. You know, I mean, and I take great pride. I remember once we took over the state government at that time, in 2008. There was a big issue because the previous government has destroyed Hindu temple, a 100-year-old Hindu temple. And we took it over. I'm a Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim. I try to live up to the Muslim way of life. But I thought it was grossly unjust to do that. So the state government had to utilize funds to protect, not only to protect, but to rebuild. When I was in Mumbai, for example, with us, I said the same thing. India has a great history, great tradition, great culture, the most tolerant, most democratic, and it's an amazing feat for the Indian people. But when we hear some of these issues, then of course it has to be addressed, it has to be raised too. But I'm very glad today that the meeting went on extremely well.
Dato Sri, you very recently said now one of your focuses will be to go around the world and propagate and preach the message of moderate Islam. While you say moderate Islam, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, Islam essentially has to be moderate, but then because it's been hijacked by either terrorists or extremists in our quarters, so the message has been somewhat either diluted or and replaced by some of the other sentiments. So I think it is our role, and the Muslims themselves should then initiate that narrative. We should not just respond to Bush or Trump, because I think their understanding, of course, very limited. The Muslims themselves must articulate their vision of the future and how Muslims can contribute. I've always said, when we talk about Muslim democracy, then they say, well, Islam is not that likely to support. But say, look at Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world, is a democracy. But never forget India. There's a substantial Indian Muslim population that has participated and understood well the meaning of democracy and the way, how we should participate. You don't hear in India it is forbidden to support parties or democracy or it's haram. It is not. It only happens to some of the other extremists or terrorists who reject any semblance of change or political activity and would resort to this.
You believe the Islam, the version of Islam that is promoted widely in the Islamic world today is in a way extreme?
With some, I mean, some of them, like all religions, some just succumb to the most corrupt, authoritarian, dictatorial regimes and use religion to back them up. Some would use even religion to continue with discrimination and injustice. But overall, we have a role to play to represent religion in the correct form. I mean, the Hindus have done that, the Buddhists have done that, the Muslims throughout history also have done that. So, those with that narrative should then take the lead and not allow those fanatics to hijack.
But some of your critics say the moderate Islam that Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim is talking about is pro-American, pro-Western Islam.
People, I mean, it's a free country and I'm a Democrat, you can ask.
But is that criticism justified? Is there substance?
Clearly it is absurd, it is not tenable. Because they would not, I say, you adduce evidence. Whatever. Do I support the foreign policy of the United States vis-a-vis the Palestinian Israeli cause? Certainly not.
On this matter, are your views and that of Dr. Mahathir the same? Don't you share different worldviews when it comes to dealing with the West specifically?
Well, there may be a slight difference between Dr. Mahathir tends to be a bit tougher with the West. I am a firm believer of engagement and negotiation. Dr. Mahathir, I think in many ways are quite similar, but I think it's quite known he takes a strong
views on America, on Jews, and the West specifically. What do you think is the greatest threat to the Islamic world today? Do you think the Wahhabism is, or what do you think is the biggest threat?
Well, you see the Muslim psyche that they are being discriminated or unjustly treated, stemming from the Palestinian issue, which is quite a major problem too. Unless we resolve that, there's always going to be used as an example how foreign policy of America is so biased and blatantly ignore the fact that people can be killed, rather children and women included. But notwithstanding that, my view is that the internal dynamics have to change. The Muslims themselves have to take it upon themselves to correct their failures.
There is a need for reform, you believe?
Yes, strong reform agenda within the Muslim world. must take place.
It has to come within.
Yes. That's why the victory here that we had has re-energized somewhat those in the Middle East even, to say, look, there is some glimmer of hope. We were not fighting on an equal footing. The electoral process was clearly fraudulent. The media was completely under the control of the government. The judiciary has been compromised. Still, we managed to win. Not because we win with a simple majority, because there's a widespread upsurge or support for the cause.
Malaysia, unlike most democracies, had not witnessed a regime change over 62 years and 13 general elections. But it is now made possible by your alliance coming to power. What do you think is the most important, major factor that contributed to it?
The wisdom of the masses. People may say, well, this is because of his Anwar, or this is because of Mahathir, or because of the party, or because of the strategies. I tell them, be humble and accept the reality. The masses, given the right message, are wise.
Why this time alone? You've attempted in the past as well.
We have done that in the 2013. We won 52% of the popular vote, which is quite remarkable. True. So in a way, I become Gandhian in the sense that always trust the wisdom of the masses, and it's a peaceful transformation. You protest, you translate your anger into the ballot box.
But will you give credit to your previous regime as well for the peaceful transformation of power? They could have tried hard not to let that happen.
They did. But then again, I agree with you. I mean, whether they did, but they didn't go severe enough. Or they were successful. Oh, they did, of course.
How?
Because they were in a state of denial. You know, the acceptance of the results was very late.
Correct.
You see? Which is not is unprecedented in a democratic experiment. But I would agree with you, you know, be more gracious and magnanimous. The fact that they did accept, concede defeat, and did ensure a smooth transition.
Your election commission came under severe criticism, not only here, in fact, across the world. Do you think it's time to reform a lot of institutions which have become an extension of the state, of the political government? What are your government's priorities when it comes to reformation?
The victory is predicated upon a clear agenda for reform, which includes the fair, free elections, which means to reject the obsolete, I would say the corrupt election commission system, because their penchant and their obsession to protect the powers that be.
Are you going to take an example from the Indian model, or what models are you looking at when it comes to a reformation of the election commission?
I've always encouraged them to look at India. I met the election commission chiefs in the past one to discuss, and they were remarkable in the sense that they were fiercely independent, and political leaders are scared of them because they stuck to the rules of the game. And you have hundreds of millions of voters elected. You can manage that. And we have a small number, and we say we can do this, it cannot be done. You know, even the black ink thing worked only now, this year, not before. They give 101 reasons. The ministers can go and launch projects and give money during the height of the campaign. Yeah. Can you imagine that? And the election commission says nothing wrong. So I believe the Indian experiment is very important. Of course, Indonesia had this same exercise, but of course India had a longer experience and a more systematic and courageous sort of election commission.
You've had a very tempestuous political journey. In fact, you've swam through a river of political fire. You're one of the most challenged politicians in Southeast Asia. You've been jailed by the current Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. The subsequent government followed it up with various other charges. You've been convicted of a humiliating sodomy charge. At any point of time, did you give up hope? A lot of your critics and political pundits wrote your political epilogue. Now you've risen back like a phoenix.
Look, when you think about the difficulties encountered with the family and the children, you do consider, that sense of pity and helplessness. But I'm grateful to Allah that at no time did I consider quitting and leaving the cause. Because the fact that I suffered is known nationally. The fact that hundreds and thousands of others suffer in different forms are not known. So why can't I then represent them and try to champion their cause? People have undergone various trials and tribulations and not even rewarded. That's why when I was given the option, should I stay out and go come back to the jail? I said, I can't take that choice because I'm already in it.
Were you treated honorably in the prison?
Yeah, when it comes to you have to sleep on the floor for the first few weeks, you have to sleep on the floor. No complaints. When you are sick, you call a doctor, but then it's a prison.
You've chosen to ally with Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. You've explained how tough a decision it was and how necessary it was. Going by the political history of the world, a lot of political opponents have come together to defeat a common enemy. Such unions have succeeded, but they have not lasted very long. How will your relationship with Dr. Mahathir be an exception to this?
Well, the last experience I could recall is Mandela de Klerk. Even then, it is limited to a peaceful transition of ensuring fair, free elections, not working together as a team in the same party. So my case was a bit unprecedented. It was a very tough, difficult decision. We had to make it. I think the reason is because we need to garner all our efforts and resources to topple the existing regime, which we consider corrupt and abusive of the rights of our people. Now, can it sustain? Well, the difference from the past experience there, it is not an alliance or coalition just to topple an sitting Prime Minister. It is an alliance to topple and to embark upon a specific agenda. Mahathir agreed on this agenda. Judicial independence, media, and election commission. And to me, which is quite pronounced, is an economic policy that promotes growth, but more caring towards the welfare of the poor.
Some of the problems his critics allege are his own making. Don't you think so?
Yes, I wouldn't deny it, but that was in the past. Not as fatal as what Najib has done. He has not amassed billions in this one MDB or things like that. But of course, institutions like media, judiciary were compromised. But what is significant is when Mahathir said, give me a chance, I want to make amends. I did not, I should not have sacked you. Something like that. Me personally, I should not have sacked you. I should have listened to these people. One. Number two, give me a chance, I want to make amends. Number three, specifically on the reforms, he said yes, and he's doing it. But I think the change, given the scenario, the tough period, is quite remarkable.
One of the promises was to make you the 8th Prime Minister, his successor. When can your well-wishers expect that happening? What is the time frame that your alliance has in mind?
My position is very clear, that we should allow him and give him the latitude to manage the affairs of the state without interruption from his colleagues. If you start fixing time, it will turn negative. Because 6 months before that, he will be a lame duck Prime Minister. So it is better that we arrange an understanding between us. People say, can you trust him? I say, yes. And let him conduct the affairs of the state. Give him that space and latitude to perform.
Dato Sri, Malaysia has a melting pot of various cultures and civilizations. Malays, Chinese, Indians, Ceylonese, Eurasians, and many others. It's been a beautiful melting pot, but not without tension. There have been racial tensions now and then. A perennial debate that has existed in your country is whether it is Malay Malaysia or Malaysian Malaysia. What is your position on the racial question?
There is, of course, a shift in the paradigm. There is a departure from the past policies, which was race-based. Our policies we have articulated is affirmative action regardless of race. So there's a clear departure here. So that's why you see the minorities are all with us. Because it's the first time to publicly articulate, look, you can be Hindus, you can be Buddhists, you can be Christians, you can be enemies in the provinces in Sabah and Sarawak, but you must be given equal treatment as citizens in this country.
One of the complaints is that the subsequent governments in Malaysia have often looked at the Indian community as a mere vote bank, as second-class citizens sometimes. They have not been adequately represented in cabinet, a lot of government and public positions and institutions. How does your regime, how does your government plan to rectify these shortcomings?
Well, some of the criticisms are legitimate, but I think there's representation they can complain. You look at the countries around the world with minorities, we have now, out of 32 Indian cabinet ministers, or ethnic Indians in that sense. And in almost every state, we have a state minister that is ethnic Indian. But more important than positions, the political positions, they will want ministers, but they can be corrupt Indian ministers that do not care for the welfare. What's more pertinent to my mind is a policy that will safeguard their interests. That we will not compromise.
What do you think is the single most important challenge facing the Indian community?
Now is of course to get yourself part and parcel of the mainstream. The Indian community, unfortunately, also having in pockets of poverty in the old Indian estates where the coolies were, there's a long history, but also it made a social problem. I was in prison for the first 3 years. Of course, the majority are the Malays, the number. But proportional to the population, the Indian has a better representation in prison.
You think gangsterism is one of the concerns?
Yes, of course. Crime, including gangsterism. But I don't just apportion that as in a separate issue as compared to the overall problem which we have to deal with. Unemployment, poverty, and drugs.
Do we look forward to meet you in India soon?
Yeah, I told Prime Minister Modi yes, partly for Anwar treatment, somewhere in Kerala, partly, of course, to renew friendship. And I think, as I said to you, very rare for a Malaysian to travel throughout India, except Kashmir.
I see.
Yeah.
As you yourself mentioned, the Tamil Nadu Connect has been very important when it comes to India-Malaysia relations. Are you planning to visit Tamil Nadu as well?
Yes, of course. I would not miss the dosai. Yeah, clearly. It is most delicious. It's a different. I mean, of course, here there are some good Indian restaurants, good food. But I think I've tried one. Incidentally, the lunch with MGR.
Oh,
yes,
you did?
I accompanied Prime Minister and
Dr. Mahathir
at that time. I was still a junior minister, and we landed at the airport, and MGR came to receive us and said, "This we cook from the house."
I see.
And I ate. I don't care whether he was looking, but waiting a bit too much. but it was very delicious.
Dato Sri, it was a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to interview you again in the Indian soil very soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and all the very best. Thank you.